Okay, welcome everybody. We'll start with the roll call. Suzanne?
Thank you. Mayor Levy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harvey.
Here.
Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Saunier.
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer.
Here.
And Councilmember Schaefer is absent.
Thank you, Suzanne. If everyone would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're on agenda item 4, and Mr. Buttery has something before we get to 4A.
Thanks, Mayor. It gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce to the council and to the community 2 new department heads. Joining us on Monday morning, our new Public Works Director and City Engineer, Daniel Munn. Dan, welcome. Dan is a New Yorker. He spent, not Brooklyn, upstate. It's a completely different world up there. But Dan comes to us most immediately from School District 11, where he was in charge of a lot of the facilities down there. We're very excited for him to be here. He's hit the ground running, and he may decompress some over the weekend. It's a lot of information together. So Dan, welcome. We're thrilled that you're here. And I'd like to also introduce our new Finance Director, Mike Farina. Mike is a longtime finance director. His last assignment was in Arizona, where he was a finance director for a small town there. Prior to that, he spent, I think, a total of 17 years in Parker, rising up through the ranks to become the finance director there. So Mike will bring a great level of expertise in municipal financing to the city. So Mike, welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks, Mayor.
Welcome, both of you. Congratulations. I'm sure you're excited to be in Woodland Park. We're excited to have you. And welcome Commander Adams today. Chris, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, Suzanne, why don't you take it from there?
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening we have appointments to the Personnel Board, the Planning Commission, and the Board of Review for vacant positions. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go through each board and committee, and then maybe at the end we can vote. You guys could take the vote at the end on everybody. We'll do it in 1 minute.
Good with that, Council?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So the first board that we have is our Personnel Board, and as you remember, Council, we discussed this a few weeks ago. We have had one person apply for this position. It's Darwin Nacarado, who's here in the audience tonight. We need 3 people to have a board and to have a complete board, but we would like for you to approve Darwin tonight because he did apply. He met the deadlines and everything, and then as we get other people, we can add them to the board. So that's the Personnel Board, and Darwin's here to answer any questions that you may have of him this evening. The next opening is for the Planning Commission. There's 1 opening for the Planning Commission, and we got 1 application from Ellen Carrick.
Not Ellen Carrick, Nacarado.
No,
Okay.
just Ellen Carrick. Yes, thank you. And she's currently in Vietnam on a trip, so she's not with us this evening, but her application was in your packet, and we can also appoint her tonight, and then at a later time I can swear her in. And then last we have the Board of Review. There's 1 opening there, and we've had Jim Olson, who is here with us tonight in the audience. He has applied for that position, and the same as the 2 prior ones, can follow the same procedure.
Thank you, Suzanne. I know Jim's been the Board of Review alternate, and Darwin's got a lot of history in our community. Council, would you like to query the applicants, or we can just move forward since there's 1 for each, and we can approve them if you'd like to? How would you like to proceed? Questions?
I would
for the
welcome
applicant?
each of them to come forward if they would like.
Sounds good. Darwin, why don't you
If they
start?
would not like, I guess they don't have to.
Oh, they like. They like. Thank you. Darwin, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Darwin Nacarado, 410 Craig Court, Woodland Park, Colorado.
Great, thanks for being here. Why don't you give us 30 seconds on why you want to continue being involved in the community?
Mostly anywhere there's a microphone, I'm in. No, seriously, I have recently stepped down from full-time employment to part-time. I'm now an adjunct professor at 3 separate universities, so I'm still working a lot. But I do have more time available, and I think the way I've chosen to spend that time is volunteering in city projects. As you know, I currently chair the Community Investment Committee. And although it's a daunting and sometimes challenging task, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, except for a couple of meetings a year, I think, and then thinking about it throughout the rest of the year. So I'm willing to take on additional responsibility. I think it's right in my wheelhouse, as I said in my application. I think with my business background, the personnel departments in 3 separate organizations reported directly to me, and I created the personnel function in 2 of those corporations. One of the corporations had 4,000 employees, so it was a pretty challenging situation. I had plenty of time to deal with a lot of very, very interesting situations, and I guess I would call those challenging at times as well. Some fun, some not so fun. I've always said that personnel is probably the bane of business, but it's also what makes it go. It's the largest asset of any organization, the people. I've also created a class that I will start teaching next Wednesday again for Regis University in their Masters of Business Administration department, called Power and Politics in the Workplace. That class primarily deals with personnel matters and leadership styles and contention among employees and different age groups of employees that we now have in the workplace. Anything from the senior citizens, and even a few World War II vets are still around, believe it or not, baby boomers, to the Generation X and millennials. So I've had plenty of experience in dealing with all of the above, and I think I can put that to use when needed here for the city. I think I can't imagine the city has a lot of these grievances that are spoken about directly in the city charter. I hope not, anyway. But I'm willing to lend a hand in the case where there are.
Well, thanks. Thanks very much for your service. Obviously, you know that we need to find 2 more just like you, so that might be a good challenge for you. But council, you have any questions of Mr. Nacarado?
I guess I would also welcome you to be volunteering other candidates. I approached some people, but they weren't interested, so I guess we need to.
Well, if appointed, I would most certainly love to do that. I would love to approach other people that I'm familiar with in the city that I think would be good at it and ask them to at least apply.
Great. So, well, thanks very much. Anybody else? Yeah, Paul.
Council, have we got a written standard means and methods for this board as of this time?
There are provisions in both the administrative sections of the code and the charter that outline and govern the performance of the personnel board.
Will this be pertaining to personnel matters on possible discharge in all sections of the city? I mean, below city management, supervisors, discharging people, grievances
The
being
personnel
brought
board
before?
makes recommendations to the city council on disciplinary issues.
But we have a city management administrative government. I understand that there are provisions that allow for a personnel board. But why make an end run around city management? Why bring personnel issues to a board and then to council? Does this not muddy the waters? If, as we know, in some cases, this could go to litigation?
I think that you raise a very interesting and valid policy question, and it certainly is one that I would recommend council consider and grapple with, and possibly decide whether or not to propose a charter amendment. Thank you.
That was a potential charter amendment that was discussed last year when the charter was reviewed, and was actually held for a near-term action as opposed to long-term. So it is something that we could reintroduce on the next opportunity for a ballot initiative.
It would be wise to do so
But at this
to
point,
protect.
yes, but at this
the
point in
council.
time, it is part of our charter.
If it goes to litigation and it goes civil, are we protected under our insurance? Thank you.
Anybody else? Darwin, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Jim Olson, would you like to come forward?
Jim Olson, 904, excuse me, Stone Park Lane, apartment 304, Woodland Park. And I guess I am asking to be part of the Board of Review. I bring to the Board of Review 36 years in the building business, 8 years as a Woodland Park citizen, and I did participate as president of the Home Builders Association for 4 years, help with the advisory committee to bring on RBD as our regional building department, and I also did sit on the advisory committee to develop this advisory, the Board of Review. So, and those folks that are on it. So, never sat on a Board of Review. Bring no experience to that, but bring a lot of building experience with me, and I think that I can do a good job.
Like you always do. Thanks, Jim. Questions? Mr. Olson? We appreciate you being here. Thanks very much, Jim. Okay, and Ms. Carrick is not here, so I think we can call for a motion to approve if you would like to go forward, council.
Motion to approve all 3 candidates for each position as advertised.
Second.
Sounds good, Suzanne?
Thank you. Carr,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Matthews,
Yes.
Sonier,
Yes.
Sawyer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. If Mr. Olson and Mr. Nacarado want to join me at the podium, I'll swear you both in. Come out here, we'll get your picture taken. I'll have you face this way. Oh, sweaty. Okay, so we'll start with you, Jim. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jim Olson. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. The state of Colorado. The charter and ordinances. Of the city of Woodland Park. And that I will faithfully perform. The duties of regular member. Of the Board of Review. Which I'm about to enter. Congratulations, and we'll get you to sign this in a minute. Gar, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Darwin Nacarado. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And of the state of Colorado. The charter and ordinances. Of the city of Woodland Park. And that I will faithfully perform. The duties of the office of. Yes, thank you. How much I'm about to enter. Thank you, Dar. And I'll have you both gentlemen sign your oaths of office. So here you go, Jen. Okay, thank you. I'll make sure you get copies of these.
Right.
And Dar, here's yours. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Gentlemen, thanks very much, and thanks for both of you, long-term service to our community. We really appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to item number 4B, and I see Jan Wilson. Would you like to come forward, Jan? No. Good.
Good evening, Mayor. members of council, city staff, members of the community. My name is Dan Sloan. I reside at 1040 Sundance Street, Woodland Park, Colorado. I am the secretary for the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee. I'd like to recognize the members of our committee that are currently in the audience. Councilman Ken Matthews, Sally Riley from Planning, Jan, who is our chair, Renee Bunting, David and Michelle Perkins, and I believe that is it for the evening. I'm here this evening to present 3 beautification awards for businesses that have shown outstanding beautification on their businesses for the community. If I could have Dana from Dana's Dance, Sean from Joni's Deli, and Jan from Curves of Woodland Park come up. On behalf of the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee, we want to present these awards to the businesses stated for their beautification efforts in the community. Any questions in the field?
Thank you so much.
No questions. Congratulations.
No questions?
Dan, thanks very much. And to all of you, thanks for your contribution to our community. Clearly, you have 3 great businesses, and they're very, very attractive. So thanks for your participation and help keep Woodland Park beautiful. So thank you very much. Okay, we move on to item number 5. There are no additions, deletions, or corrections. So we'll go to 6 in the consent calendar. And Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening, we have one item on the consent calendar, and that is the approval of the minutes of the August 4th, 2016 regular council meeting.
Council, any questions about the minutes? Now we'll call for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Thank you. Harvey?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Sonier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. We have no unfinished business tonight. So we'll move on to item number 8, ordinances on initial posting, and welcome Sally Riley.
Thank you, Mayor Levy, council members. This is ordinance 1287 on initial posting. It is to quitclaim an easement to IREA. That's a 10-foot wide easement. It's for an underground electric transmission line, and it is adjacent to Old Cristola Road, County Road 21, along the southerly boundary of tracks A, B, and C of the Walmart subdivision, and set the public hearing for September 1st.
Thank you. Council, this is just on initial posting. If you don't have any questions, we will just call for a motion to set it for the public hearing for September 1st.
I have a curiosity.
Please.
I've been at a bunch of meetings because I guess that's what I do now. And there's been talk about this broadband proposal and things like that. Will this right-of-way be possibly available in the case the voters bring all that ballot initiative? In other words, can it be a shared right-of-way?
It's a non-exclusive easement, so yes.
Anything else, Council? Okay. If not, then just call for a motion to consider ordinance 1287 on initial posting.
I move approval of ordinance 1287 on initial posting as presented for September 1st.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Thank you. Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Sonier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, moving right along, the public hearing. approving ordinance number 1286, and Aaron Smith will lead us.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Mayor and Council, you have a single action before you tonight with respect to ordinance 1286, and what it is proposing and what it will do, if approved, will be to extend the current franchise between the city and TDS Baja Broadband LLC, which is the cable provider in a portion of the city. TDS Baja Broadband provides service to roughly 930 customers within the city of Woodland Park. If this is extended and the ordinance is approved, and then those 936 or so customers will not have any interruption in their service. The recommendation is that you do approve the ordinance and thereby extend the term of the franchise agreement. That would allow up to a year's time, though I do not believe the entire year is necessary, but what I'm trying to do is avoid having to come back for yet another extension. That will allow a year's time for the city attorney, my office, to work with TDS Baja Broadband's office and council and present to council a new franchise agreement, which will then replace this franchise agreement. Council should be aware that prior to the meeting, a resident who had some questions concerning the extension did have a in-depth conversation with the city manager, and I was informed, because then I had a conversation with the resident as well, was informed that all of her questions had been answered. There was one remaining question, and she and I discussed that prior to the council meeting starting. So she is comfortable. We concurred and got her agreement that she need not present anything to council or need further explanation on those questions. Those questions had to do mainly with the form of the ordinance, and I was able to explain to her what those various paragraphs meant, and to also confirm for her, which I thought was a very good question, that if this ordinance is approved, then the existing franchise agreement continues, and all of the provisions in that franchise agreement are still binding on the franchisee, on TDS Baja Broadband. So, for example, the insurance coverages that TDS must carry must be maintained. The franchisee, TDS Baja Broadband, under the franchise agreement, is required to lodge with the city and have on deposit with the city a $5,000 security bond. That is up to date and is on deposit with the city. There are provisions in the agreement that touch on the obligations of TDS Baja Broadband when working in public rights-of-way and other public areas, such as public easements as well as private easements. Should the franchisee, TDS Baja Broadband, cause any damage to any private or public property that it is working in, it is obligated under the agreement to repair those. So I believe that those were really the highlights of the questions that had been asked anyway, and I just wanted council to feel comfortable that those questions were answered. The remaining questions that the resident has have to do really with the use of public easements for entities other than franchisees, and she was quite comfortable with delaying and deferring those questions and allowing the city manager and myself to meet with her and address those questions. Having given you that explanation, it would be my recommendation that council approve ordinance 1286 following a public hearing. Can I answer any questions?
Who'd like to start? Val?
I would ask, you stated that if we approve this, you will proceed to initiate a fresh agreement with fresh language, and so we have a clean agreement. Is that an action item on both parties' to-do list, as it were?
Absolutely. We've been in contact with TDS Baja Broadband already. They have provided us with a working version of a draft agreement. So that is, and I believe there may be someone here tonight representing TDS Baja Broadband. But yes, my office has had a number of conversations with the folks there. Thank you.
What is I think this was a 15-year contract. What would the new one be?
The new one is proposed right now to be a 10-year agreement.
Council, anybody else before we go to the public?
One more question, and Aaron, I know that you answered part of that question in a footnote on the staff package, the difference between franchise work and permitted work in the public right-of-way. Could you explain that for the audience?
Yes, and thank you for that question, Councilwoman Harvey. So the city's public right-of-way is governed by an ordinance that the city passed last year, which requires anybody working in the public right-of-way to obtain permits, supply bonds, furnish bonds to the city for security of the work performance of the work that they do there in those rights-of-way, and pay certain administrative fees. Then, as you remember, there are a number of regulations that cover how asphalt is patched, all variety of engineering technical standards that are included within that ordinance, which then adopted some administrative regulations. Those apply to franchisees. All franchise agreements, whether it's with IREA or with TDS Baja Broadband, have typically included a provision that says when working in public property, you are subject to all the city's laws and you must abide by them, and that you must then repair any damage that you do. So that ordinance and the work in the public rights of way applies to all folks, whether they are franchisees or someone working in the right-of-way who is not a franchisee. Historically, the only folks that worked in the city's rights-of-way, besides perhaps some other municipal utilities like special districts who provided water and sewer, the only other private entities that would ever work in city rights-of-way historically were franchisees. Under the state constitution, municipalities are authorized to grant a franchise, which is a special privilege to persons that are not that is not granted to all the public at large. So typically, in order for a private entity to be working in the city's public right-of-way, through the authority contained in the state constitution, municipalities granted franchise agreements and exacted as a result of those grants a rental fee in the way of a franchise fee. The state legislature, Colorado legislature in 1996, came along and said, we are going to carve out a narrow exception for telecommunication providers, which do not include cable providers, but telecommunication providers do not need to obtain a franchise agreement, and the municipality, moreover, is not authorized to require the telecommunication provider to obtain a franchise agreement. So that is why there is a narrow exception of folks who don't have to have a franchise agreement, don't pay the city a franchise fee, but are regulated when it comes to working in the city's public rights of way. That ordinance that the city passed a year ago about working in the public right of way and the regulations that apply to it, that does not extend to the city's public easements. So those public utility easements at the backs of lots are not subject to, and working in those easements, people are not subject to the provisions of the right-of-way ordinance. The reason for that, and I'm getting a little far afield from our single action tonight, but I wanted council to be clear on this. The reason that the right-of-way ordinance did not extend to the public easements was because the city staff, especially the city engineer, felt strongly that there was not the city did not have the administrative staff to manage all of those public easements. And as far as we know, nothing has changed from last year in terms of the availability of the administrative staff to oversee the work in the public easements. But that takes me back to this franchise agreement, which clearly says any damage to a public easement, you are by the terms of your franchise agreement, TDS, Baja Broadband, or REA, or any other franchisee, you are obligated to repair that damage.
Great, thank you, Aaron. Questions? We're in public comment. If anybody would like to comment on this at this time. Ms. Stinner, I want to thank you for, more than anything else, your approach and your demeanor and your knowledge, and I hope we got everything answered for you, at least to this point. And
is there one outstanding thing that I
you can, if you,
after you do your vote on this?
you can. We'll have you come forward. Anyone else in the audience? Sir, if you'd like to come forward.
I'm on the list under public comments back there.
That's great. And your name, sir, and your address when you...
Taylor, 460 Black Bear Trail.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Why don't you do me a favor and just for the record, say it into the microphone.
Yes, Ralph Taylor, 460 Black Bear Trail. We know there'd been some lost emails in the city. I'm trying to firm up in my mind what happened because I have a
Hold on
article.
1 second, sir. I'm sorry.
This is the Courier magazine, the recent copy.
Excuse me. Right now we're on a different subject. I thought you were going to talk on
This is items not on the agenda.
Okay, we're not quite to you yet. I'm sorry
Okay.
if I misled you. I'm sorry. We will get right back to you. We're still in this public hearing. Anybody else on the public hearing to approve ordinance number 1286? Okay. If not, then, council, if there's nothing else, we need a motion to approve ordinance 1286.
Motion to approve ordinance 1286 as posted.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Suzanne?
Matthews,
Yes.
Soinier,
Yes.
Sawyer,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Aaron, for
Thank you,
your...
Council.
I do appreciate the clarifications and the explanations. They were very helpful.
For
And
all
I
of us.
do appreciate citizen participation. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have no new business tonight, so now we'll move on to public comment on items not on this agenda. And Mr. Taylor, we'll start with you if you'd like. Come on back.
I'm sorry, I was out of...
No, I probably misled you. We'll start from the beginning.
No good in this here public comment. Yes, again, Ralph Taylor, 460 Black Bear Trail. I have a question on who owns the email in Woodland Park. Based on the article in the Courier, the recent one about missing emails, it states that Mr. Goody, Jerry Good, requested from the city of Woodland Park the missing emails. So here's DDA recognizing that the emails belong to Woodland Park. Then later on in that same article, Mr. Buttery says they belong to DDA. Now, which is it? You can't have both.
Mr. Buttery, would you like to answer?
In this unique situation, actually both are true. The emails that were in question.
You only have
were
one
from-
email account on the server.
But the emails that were in question were from one individual who worked both for the city and for the DDA. So the files that were requested were not from him as the executive director of the DDA, nor from him as the executive director of economic development, but from him as an employee of both. So that there was one server, and that server is owned by the city. And we did, as probably would be reported later this evening, I think it was 2 days later, we were successful in elevating our level with Microsoft Outlook.
Right.
We found many of the emails that were in that gap and then provided them to the DDA per the open records
But
request.
shouldn't the city also have a chance to determine that it segregated out Woodland Park unique emails?
No,
Or just
because-
hand them over?
No, because the request was for, again, this individual's, not an individual as per each of the two departments that he worked for.
You have one email username, period, in Outlook.
Pardon me? Absolutely they did. So perhaps I'm not understanding your question.
How do you separate out Woodland Park email pertaining to Woodland Park versus DDA if Woodland Park didn't have a chance to look at them?
Well, there's just a little bit of confusion. There was an open records request for this individual's emails. That's what we provided in answer of the open records request.
And then you turned around and said they all belong to DDA. Unless they misspoke.
And I don't recall what my statement was that night, but what I can tell you is that we provided all the emails that were requested in the open records request to the entity that requested them. And they were both DDA emails and city emails from the Economic Development Director.
To me, you cannot separate out an email account.
I understand. What we did was we took there was one account. This individual had one account, but had two functions, and we provided all the emails from both functions to the requesting entity.
And some of those emails might also have city business and DDA business
Absolutely.
in the same email.
That's absolutely correct, and that's what was
requested. Have that available to them.
And that's what was requested of us, and by the open records law, we had to provide those.
But by this, it says nobody but DDA is going to read them.
I did not read the emails. No one in our office did. The DDA requested them. Whether we read them or not, we had to provide them to the requesting entity, which was the DDA.
Yeah, but that means, to me, when I look at that, that means the city had no choice on just giving them everything.
That's right. That's exactly
That
what
raises
you should
a bunch
conclude.
of questions in my mind.
No, the open records law says that things that are in the public realm belong to the public.
Okay.
And they had to request them, and they requested them, and we provided them.
It just smoke and mirrors to me. You know, the DDA requested it, but we're told they belong to Woodland Park. When DDA requests the emails, that's saying to the city, you own them all. I'm sorry, I'm not used to two cities in one location. Excuse me.
Neil, I'll answer that question later.
Good. Okay, we'll move on, and top of my list, I have Tanner Coy.
Good evening, Tanner Coy, 550 Allegheny Drive, Colorado Springs. Mayor, council, staff, everybody. Tonight, I just have another finance update for you on DDA finance. In my report to you on August 4th, I indicated the DDA's 2016 revenues were below the budgeted figures derived from the certification we received from the county. Tonight, you'll be pleased to hear that County Treasurer Bob Campbell was able to identify an error in the computer formula, an error in the computer formula that's used in their software to calculate TIF revenues. That error has been corrected in time for all adjustments to be made in the current year, meaning all taxing authorities, including the DDA, should finish the year with the proper revenues. A check for $76,611.99 was issued by the county and received by the city for deposit into the DDA 215 fund. Additionally, the software correction should result in the proper TIF revenue calculations for the remainder of the year and the correct payments being issued.
Fantastic. That's very good.
Would also like to say, on that note, County Treasurer Bob Campbell was remarkably easy to work with. Professional, tracked things down very quickly and kept me up to date at every step. Additionally, I am still attempting to schedule a meeting with Conrad Freeman and a host of other attendees from both City Council and DDA Board. Mr. Freeman has requested August 24th or 25th, and emails are currently circulating that will hopefully determine the date, time, and the attendees at that meeting very soon. The meeting should be very informative and leave us all knowing whether a bond issue is possible and what the terms may be. An agreement between City and DDA should be fairly easy to reach after that. In the event a bond issue is not possible in the near future, I have added future debt payments to the city to a budget worksheet I've been building. I do have copies of that here if you guys care to review. I'm sorry I didn't get this any sooner. Would you like these? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
May look somewhat familiar to you, but I've made some revisions. I've added some data, the audited actual year-end figures for 2013, 14, and 15, a projected 2016 year-end column, and have worked up some 2017 and on out to 24 numbers. The future budgets are very preliminary. I've made very few changes from our current budget going forward until we have more information on the costs of operating as a working board and how those expenses may need to adjust. I'm trying not to dabble too much in projections. So let's see. The future budget columns do not reflect TIF revenue or reimbursement expenses from Trail Ridge Apartments or Eagle Fire Lodge. Yet, as I have not been able to confirm those numbers with the county, I anticipate approximately $15,000 in net revenues each year for the first 7 years of those projects beginning in 2017. However, Pam Killebrew of the County Assessor's Office, currently working very hard to have preliminary certification of values complete by next week, and does not have any more specific information for me yet regarding those properties. So I've not plugged in those revenues or expenses yet, but they will have positive effect on the bottom line. Just so you know, the 2017 forward numbers will be somewhat better than what you're reviewing there. Nonetheless, as you can see, we've budgeted substantial payments to the city each year, which seem to fit well into the conservative budget of a working board. Good news, your DDA financials are strengthening rapidly. It's clear that one way or another, we will be able to repay the city debt either through refinance, substantial direct payments, or perhaps some variation of version of both. The future's bright. Any questions?
Council?
Tanner, thank you for the effort. Thank you for responding to my specific request, and thank you for all the time that you have put into this. You really go beyond the definition of a volunteer for this city, and we appreciate what you do for not only DDA but for Woodland Park.
My pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tanner, before you step down, let me ask you a question. Can you maybe characterize a little bit the workings of the DDA now that you're a working board and how you're moving forward?
The workings of the working board. Well, it's been interesting. Obviously, as treasurer, I'm handling finance, and that's some increased workload. As secretary, I know Al Bourne is handling some correspondence and other things on behalf of the board. Chair is taking a more active role in running the meetings and trying to adhere to agendas that the board produces and approves. We're pretty early on in the experience, so I don't have a whole lot to tell you yet other than we're saving a lot of money. the board members seem to be coming together as a body very quickly. I think teamwork is flourishing. I think communication, as much as it's hindered, with open meeting law, sunshine law, and difficult to communicate, particularly without staff, the communication we do have is very healthy, very open and honest. I guess I don't know much more what to say other than, in my opinion, it is a very, very healthy thing for the DDA board right now. And if you don't see that already, you will.
Well, and you ask questions that you kind of know the answer to sometimes, and that's kind of my perception of where the DDA is going. And I'll just reiterate what I've said and what the council agrees. The city will support you in any way we can. Continue to support you moving forward. It'll be beneficial for both of us to work together closely. And so I appreciate, again, to tag on to what Councilwoman Harvey said. Great job, and let's continue to move forward.
Thank you. On that note of supporting DDA, I do have a minor request. These Cora requests may be coming our way, the DDA's way. As indicated in the paper, the DDA is in possession of emails that are public property. And the paper suggests that people submit their requests to the DDA to access those records. And being without staff and having recently taken possession of many of our records and still sorting through that, it may be a bit of a challenge for us to respond to those promptly. Wherever city records are concerned, my intent, if I have anything to do with those requests, will be to send them to the city. So for the emails that have been mentioned earlier, those are indeed public property. They are owned by the people, and city's in possession of them. So what was given to the DDA that is the DDA's property are attorney-client privileged correspondence, and those are not open records. Everything else we have is public property. So other requests are coming our way and that are for DDA-related information, and I may be talking to Suzanne LeClaire at some point to see if city may be able to help find some records that go back as far as 2005. Would that be okay with council and staff?
David?
I don't know the magnitude. We've provided to the DDA what was requested, which was just a conglomeration of emails, and we didn't go through and separate out the DDA from economic development, because that's not what the request was. We did separate out the attorney-client privilege, as you well know. But there were, I don't know the number of emails, but in the tens of thousands.
I think 73,000.
And so if what's being requested is that the request to us wasn't to separate out DDA from economic development, that would be huge. It took us several days of 3 people working to get all the documents together to send to the DDA. Certainly if the council wants us to assist the DDA in that administrative role, recognizing that they don't have any staff, that certainly is the direction council can give me, and we'll follow through on that. But that's not something that we are prepared to do. The DDA had staff members. They don't now any longer. As I mentioned at one of the meetings, we're helping. We're helping as much as we can, but that would be a significant task for the city to do that. My concern also is that there's been too much in the media about the rift between the city and the DDA, and some of it just not warranted. And my concern is that if we are asked to do that and something comes up missing, I don't want that black eye. I don't need that again. So we'll follow what council's direction are. If it's an issue of perhaps sharing the cost of hiring an independent third party to do that separating, I'd be happy to participate in that.
Well, and I think we can wait and see what's going to be requested before we have to make any decision in that regard.
Right. And again, my request would simply be for any Cora request that comes to the DDA that is for city records, we will send to the city.
Absolutely.
In addition, any request that comes to the DDA that may be challenging for us to reply to completely and promptly, we may look to the city for some support in meeting the request. There is one such request, and it came to us today, and it's for a variety of information dealing with Lot 1 and other things at Woodland Station going back to records from 2005. The DDA's hard copies are stored in boxes in an office not far from where we are right now. The electronic copies of those have been provided to me, but until we've been able to sort through all of that and can properly respond, we may ask for some assistance from the pros.
I'm assuming that is the Cora request is from a third party, and if that is the case, the third party bears the cost of the retrieval of the documents.
Is that true, Counsel?
It is true.
Okay,
It absolutely
thank
is true, but that still doesn't. So if that's true, then I would be certainly willing to work with the DDA to hire that third party to accomplish that, and then we would then back charge the requesting entity. Historically, what we've done when large requests come in is we require a down payment on the effort. You know, if we estimate that it's $1,000, we ask for something up front and then a final bill later on. Certainly, if the requests are city documents, we will absolutely provide those, and we'll provide those in the time frame that's required of us to do so.
Let me get in here, Val. Aaron, this is a question for you. What is the legal? How long does a municipality or a governing body have to hold on to emails?
In Woodland Park, that's a function of the records retention policy that council adopted by resolution some years ago. So it depends on sort of the content of the email, although there are some default provisions that apply generally to correspondence. So I haven't looked at it recently, so I would have to review that in order to answer your question completely.
Okay, yeah, because going back to
2 years, the city
2005
manager tells me.
Okay, how many?
2 years.
Okay, so going back to 2005 would just seem a little asinine to me.
Two different issues. One is what does the resolution say we have to, the minimum, but if we have them, then we have to provide them back to when the earth cools.
Thank you.
Basically.
And to clarify, the request that came in today is not for emails. Financial records and other things. I may need to ask City Finance Department to help find some records. I don't have. Perhaps I do have the records somewhere, but there has been so much, I just don't know where I would find them.
Dave, I guess the question would be, would the DDA be responsible for anything past 2 months that was part of when the executive director was part of the city too? Would those records, that would fall back on the city to find those records?
No, the DDA has been a separate entity for a long, long time.
Right.
Forget the fact that it was one person wearing two hats. That's immaterial for this discussion. So if the requests were made for the historical finance records back to 2005, and if we have those, we being the DDA and the city, because right now our finance department serves as the finance director for the DDA. So there's great collaboration anyway. Okay. So if there's finance records that need to be found, as I've mentioned to the council, it is our finance department right now that provides the greatest support to the Downtown Development Authority, and we will continue to do that. So if Tanner needs to visit with Mike on finance records, we do that. They sit down. He spent a lot of time with Wally before Wally left. Tanner spent time with me going over financial things, but they've been more current. The records request and the search for things in the past is kind of outside of the normal venue, and we would want to recover the costs associated with that, time and materials. We can figure that out, though.
Okay, so it sounds like what, as a DDA member, is we would want to find out the cost, give it back to that third party and say, are you willing to pay this?
Right.
Okay,
And that's
so-
what we typically do. We do an estimate on the time that it would take, and then we talk to that requesting entity and take it from there.
And there is a statutory guideline on that amount, correct?
There is.
I sort of heard a request to a council. I guess my feeling is if it's a couple hours or less of city interaction, they normally do that without thinking about it. I would suggest that they continue despite the fact that this has been separated a little bit. Things beyond a couple of hours get into the realm of impacting people's normal job. I mean, a couple hours also does, but it's kind of normally what's been done in the past. I would suggest, if council is amenable, that we kind of bless that direction if we have to. I don't even know if we have to, but I think that's what Mr. Coy is asking for, is some sort of recognition by council that.
And we could certainly help Tanner and the DDA estimate the time requirements for that recovery. That is something that Suzanne and her team are very good at doing. And that in and of itself could take a couple hours. But we've always been trying to help the DDA where we can. This would be this open records request, and I've seen it, is huge. It's monstrous, and it will cost some money to get it fulfilled. And I'd rather not the city absorb that responsibility or that task.
I guess my feeling would be day-to-day kind of things, not these exceptional large things kind of.
Day-to-day things we do day-to-day.
Yeah.
But in this case, the request is from a third party who will be required to pay for that search.
Paul? I'm a little outside of my expertise, but on Microsoft Office 365, message retention policy we have. Litigation hold. Litigation hold might be a wise thing to do at this point, simply because this sounds like a huge request for a reason I don't know yet. And is this a wise thing to pursue on our emails?
Well, that's not our decision.
Oh, it's a 360. It's a 360 function.
Well, they're not asking for emails, they're asking for financial documents.
Oh,
Or a hard
financial
copy,
documents.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the email ones we've addressed and provided those. These were for different records.
I'm sorry.
Tanner, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, next I've got Elijah Murphy.
Good evening, Council. I am Elijah Murphy. I have a house in Divide, but I live at 204 West Midland Avenue, also known as the Historic Ute-Inn. So with a little bit of trepidation that I come up here today, because I am beginning to, after a very short time on the DDA Council, I see that we all have an image problem. Okay? Harry Truman, on his retirement day, was sought after by numerous companies to go to their employee. And he stated to all of them, I'm sorry, you don't want to buy me, you want to buy the office of president. It's become slightly apparent to me that if I wanted to really start a business in this town and be able to approach things at my own direction without applying all of the ordinances to myself, I should probably get as many persons of former, maybe with former experience on the city council to invest in me. I might get persons in other spots to invest in me, and then I could do things pretty much as I wanted. That's what I see. That's what other people talk about in this town. Okay? One of the things that I wanted to I want to touch on, seeing as that was a very recent item, was the CORA request. Per state statute, you can charge 25 cents per page, or the amount of, say you downloaded all of those items onto a memory stick, you can charge for that. Or if you have to reproduce pictures in actual form, you can charge the cost for that. But you cannot charge the research time, because those records are public, those records belong to the people, and as far as I know, you're still being paid for that time that it takes as a city employee. In fact, I got an email from some people saying that they would charge $1,200 for a CORA request, and I sat down and I read the law. Very specific. You cannot charge for research time. You can only charge 25 cents per printed page, and anything above and beyond that, such as a memory stick or a CD, you can charge the actual cost for it. That's part of our integrity, knowing our jobs, knowing the law, okay? That's where it comes to. I've gone out and I've talked to several contractors around here about dirt work over at Site 2. The most common response I receive, oh, is Lamb going to get that? That's the most common comment and thing I receive. Is Lamb going to get that? That tells me something. It's almost a standing joke amongst the contractors. Now, I understand that it is really hard to get some of these people to get out and work. I have a hard time finding employees. I've called contractors before that have never showed up for me, okay? At the end of the day, we all hope that our leaders understand and know the law. We hope that we all know how to work together, that our leaders will do the right things even when nobody's looking, all right? Whether Peak Internet gives $50,000 to the city for the pool or whatever, that they follow the same guidelines, that we all follow the same rules, the same path, the same ordinances, that there's no special favor given for these things, because it creates an appearance of impropriety. And Harry Truman knew that. He did not want to go to work for contractors that were going to besmirch his legacy. When we have a lack of integrity within government, okay, when we do not have the moral fortitude to step forward and talk about the things, the white elephants in the room, when we just leave them lie and cover them up and say, okay, let's just not talk about that, maybe it'll go away. It's a rotten spot in an apple, and we will lose the entire apple at the end of the day. All right? I work very hard in this town. I like this town. But I'm saying I think there's an image problem because of the way business is done. And I'm not pointing any finger at any one person, because I know how small towns operate. I've seen it in the past. But I would hope that our leadership would step up to the plate and do the right things every time. I'm not asking for any special favor. I'm just letting people know that maybe we need to get Mike Praney over here to begin a little session of how to improve the image. Because I go out there and I look around and I try to educate people on how government works. I've got a pretty good grasp on it. But when it goes back to the good old boy network of people just, people being the, oh, well, that's information we really need to hold close to ourselves. People could benefit from that. I'm down with that. Let people benefit from it. Don't hold information that, unless, of course, it's attorney-client privilege things, okay? Because I'm one of those people that believes bad things don't get better with time, all right? These are all observations I have made in my time in the community as a business owner, and in the short time with the DDA, it's been a fire hose of stuff, of people just bickering about this. I am here now working with the DDA. I want to see the DDA succeed and make this town a much better place, working with the city council. We have to work as a team. We're here at your pleasure. I wouldn't be here if you hadn't voted for me. Okay? And these are things that I think we all really need to think about, is how we appear in the public eye. All right? One of the things that blows me away these days is the fact that watching up in Washington, D.C., Mr. Buttery, had you treated TSSCI material the same way as one of our former first ladies, would you be sitting there today? Okay, I thought so. Neither would I. I wouldn't be standing here today. I'd probably still be cleaning the toilets in Leavenworth with the toothbrush. So I would like to ask City Council, the DDA does need your help. We want to be foremost in creating a positive image for this town, okay? A positive business environment for this town. However, I think that the image needs a little polishing personally. That's just what I'm seeing around and across the board, okay? I know we're all hard workers and everything, but the undercurrents and the way people talk indicate to me how they feel. One of the biggest things in this town is people say it is tough to do business here. Yeah, it is. How many people you hired last year, Mr. Levy? A bunch, right? Me too. It's tough. But with dedication, unity of purpose, and having our integrity intact when we walk out of these places is the number one thing that is going to make us look good in the eyes of the citizen. And that's, you know, like I said, in the short time that I've been here, this is what I've seen. This is what I've heard. Mr. Sonia?
Thank you. Just the mere fact that we're talking about it now, we have made tremendous strides. DDA has come together as a team. You are creating an atmosphere in this city that shows we are moving forward. We are making progress. City, council, DDA, other committees. It's working. Don't get frustrated, please, Murphy.
Oh, I'm not.
I understand where you're coming from. I see it working. And if we continue to talk in public the way we are, and to have the research being done, and for city to cooperate, and council to sit here and cooperate as we meet together, as we listen to the different things that are going on, we are making progress. There is a lot that we need to do to complete our task. Our image is changing. I do hope that the media does report clearly that we are having open discussions and we are working together. And we do need all facets of the community to work together. Please, let's continue this process of airing things out and keeping it in the light of day, above the table. I appreciate you. I appreciate DDA and everything that you guys and gals are doing. And I commend you for the good work.
And I would like to thank the City Council for giving me the opportunity to work with the DDA. I find it very exciting, an exciting challenge, and I think that we're going to be able to do great things in the not too far future.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith, may I ask you to clarify the core of things? Maybe you can read the legalese for us, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to make that correction, because that is important. So pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute subsection 24722056, effective July 1st, 2014, staff time may be charged at a rate not to exceed $30 per hour for research and retrieval. So that is the law. There shall be no charge for the first hour of time for research and retrieval of records, but beyond that, there is a state statute which does authorize a $30 per hour research and retrieval fee. So that is typically how the city follows that law, and it has a policy in place to allow it to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jerry Good?
Hi, my name is Jerry Good. I reside at 1005 Sun Valley Drive, Woodland Park. Guys, I'm sorry, I don't mean to beat a dead horse here. I just, something that we've been talking about, and I kind of need to make sure that it's brought out in a public forum, and that, can I read something that was sent by Suzanne to Tanner? And it says, per our phone conversation on 8/2/16, the only emails we were able to retrieve for BFLER at city-woodlandpark.org were emails through October 2015. In October 2015, the city moved from our email system, Peak Internet Mail, to Microsoft 365 email. When this request first came, we did look at Microsoft 365 email and found that someone had deleted all the emails in this account. This was done by the user himself, someone with access to the city computer, or someone he shared this password with. Basically, per a newspaper article, that the majority of the emails were found and that it was a IT error. I would like publicly to state that we need to find out whether it was IT or whether it was intentionally deleted. I think that needs to be pursued. Just as a reminder, one of them is a criminal matter, so we shouldn't let this go. But I'm asking you if there's any way to find out whether these emails were intentionally deleted, whether we in fact got all of them from that. It's very important. Thank you.
The three options that Suzanne laid out, I think are fairly accurate. The gap that we talked about, we did go back into Microsoft Outlook and worked with them and went to a different level, and we were able to recover emails from that window from October of 2015 to June 10th of 2016. We recovered a lot. What I can't guarantee is, did we recover them all? Because we don't know. What we can tell you is that there were no noticeable gaps. There were no 2-week gaps or things like that were missing. I don't know if there was an email every single day. I don't know. But I cannot sit here and guarantee you that we retrieved every single email that was sent from that account. It, too, was in the tens of thousands. I think 20,000 were recovered in that window, but I can't tell you that there weren't 20,001. What I also can't tell you is how it happened. It wasn't an, I don't know, it wasn't an IT glitch. I don't know that was ever stated. It was perhaps an IT misunderstanding of how to recover them because of the different levels that Microsoft Office 365 provides. But we were working on that recovery the night that Mr. Good brought this to the council, and it was within, I think, 48 hours or so that we were successful in recovering those others. We were on our way to doing that anyway. It was fairly quick. So I don't think we ever gave anybody impression, and I could be wrong. I mean, we could have said that it was an IT glitch or somebody erased them or something like that. But we owned the fact that there was a gap, and we recovered what we think was all of them. We certainly know it was a high percentage of them, and we provided those to the DDA as they asked for them.
I am confused because I delete emails from my account just as a general manner of housekeeping, both those that I send and those that I receive, especially if you know, it's an advertisement for mail enhancement. I don't need it anymore. And I don't know if those are the kind of emails that disappeared. But after the city explored what happened in that transition from Peak Internet to Microsoft 365, I did notice I had, about 700 deleted emails showed up in my deleted file, and I assume it's because we were beginning to recover something that maybe affected all of the account holders, not just one individual. So you're right. If there was malicious intent in deleting those emails, and not simply a matter of housekeeping, I don't know how we would ever be able to determine that.
A forensic IT specialist would be the way to do that. I don't know that that's council's purview. Doesn't seem like it is.
Thank you for that. I think a charging decision like that is the purview of law enforcement.
Yeah.
If there were if the issue was with a current employee, that would be different. That would be a manager, city manager purview to investigate. So that is a law enforcement purview. It would be prosecutor, DA sort of decision, to a charging decision. And I am not sure, because I've not looked at the issue, I'm not even sure what laws govern the issue. So I'm not sure what law may be violated. So it's not an issue I've ever looked at. So there would also be a decision or research to determine on the part of law enforcement or a charging entity like the DA or a prosecutor whether or not there is actually a law that's been violated. So
all this is retroactive to an employment that certainly was under the city, but not at knowledge of the city. And so I guess that's why the public confusion comes in. You guys are responsible for whatever. How long does that go? And then where do we go? I don't know where we go. If somebody's interested or somebody has knowledge of other emails, that certainly is something that somebody in law enforcement or DA or somebody could look into. I don't know that we have the charge to direct that.
Paul?
I would think with the amount of emails that have showed up, to cherry pick emails for somebody who wanted to destroy an email would be very difficult, and would have to have extreme knowledge of the system and be right there to work with it. A forensic investigation of email would be very expensive to do. I don't believe that that's an area to explore. Just the simple fact that the amount of emails that have come back in such a short period of time indicates to me that there's some sort of glitch in transferring, or if somebody did push the button to delete, didn't know how to delete them and erase them forever. And then to go in and then to look at all 20, 30,000 emails and cherry pick emails and erase them out electronically takes a lot of time. It takes knowledge. And I don't think that happened. Again, I want to go back to Microsoft Office 365 and legal hold is an option on emails. If we're talking like this, if we're talking DA, if we're talking police investigation, if we're talking forensic investigation of emails, it would be very wise to take the cheapest way out and to ensure that these emails cannot disappear any way, size, shape, or color without a forensic track or an electronic track to these emails. And this is an option on Office 365.
We've done that. I'd mentioned the different levels, and we had purchased the 365 package at a particular level.
Okay.
That didn't allow us to go back in and do the recovery. We have upped the price. It's a cost.
Yes, it is.
It's not cheap, but it does then allow us to have our own ability to recover things. It's not the highest level, but it was a level that we can at least make sure that things are kept in place for that 2-year period. Beyond that, we would have to get Microsoft Outlook to help us find things beyond that. But we have taken that step already.
This is a good thing to hear and for the public to hear. we are doing our due diligence to try to keep these emails that we have recovered and to ensure the fact that we don't go to the extremes, but continue to work together, review these emails, see what's inside these emails, and move forward in a reasonable way, Jerry.
All right, Paul, let me clarify here. They're not city council emails, they're DDA emails.
They're not my
If
emails.
you want to look through those emails, you have to do a records request.
I'm not requesting
Okay,
a records
so
request. I'm
this-
talking about
this-
future requests for these emails.
Well, that's
not
fine.
me.
It's already
Not
handled.
me.
My point is the DDA has all the emails, Jerry. I don't know why you keep bringing this up. And if the person deleted personal emails, maybe he did. Okay, you can do that. Carol can do that. I can do that at Oracle. Okay, she works for Homeland Security. Okay, she can delete personal emails. She can delete spam. So 20,000 emails in 1 year. I don't think there was very many emails deleted. So I don't know if this is a witch hunt or you're just throwing things against the wall to try to make them stick. This needs to be dropped. Okay?
Yeah,
We
well-
have the emails.
20,000 emails is a lot to delete in 1 year, too.
Right, exactly. He didn't delete 20,000. Those are 20,000 emails we have. Plus, we have the ones prior to that that
Well-
we're trying to format.
Here's my opinion. The DDA is, in my opinion, being attacked. Okay, you'll find out more as it goes down, but we want all the information, and we want to know that things have been done open and publicly, so that what goes down is of record and all. And my concern, some of us on the board's concerned is that is not taking place. So when the DDA board is under fire, we need to be able to say, no, this is the way it really is. My purpose to be up here is to let the people know that, it was covered in the paper that it was an IT error and everything is good. I'm just saying, maybe we don't know that it was just an innocent deletion, an IT effort.
Okay,
and
that's your opinion.
It is.
Based on your IT knowledge. Or
Yes.
the paper.
You're
And the
right.
paper's
No, I
IT
don't
knowledge.
know anything about it.
And
I'm
the
not
paper has
professor.
this advanced IT knowledge that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so this
right
is
now, I've
opinion,
done my
and all you're
job.
doing is adding fuel to the fire.
The paper is recording.
All you're doing
that-
is adding fuel to the fire.
No, I'm
Okay,
not.
and Jerry, I'm going to tell you that before you came to council last time, I was already working with David and Suzanne to get those emails. Okay, they were going to get those emails. But then you came to council and you said, well, we're missing emails, and it started a firestorm, and then the paper reported it. But it was being handled.
The problems that we have
So the
is
emails
that
are there. We
things
have
are
all
done,
the emails.
are done without the public knowledge. And that's why we're in the position we are now. And I think that the more, let the people decide what's right and wrong. Gentlemen, ladies, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Arden Weatherford.
Arden Weatherford, 1191 Rampart Range Road. I've just got one subject for the council tonight. This is the third meeting in a row that the DDA has brought its business before this council, signing up for public comment. The DDA is not the public. This circumvents the intent of noticing the public of the agenda, and this discourages rebuttal. Had you not been here tonight, you would not have any clue this was going to be discussed at all. And I already have to go to City Hall a couple times a week just to look at the agendas, because I know I'm not going to get an email about that. And now you have to come to every meeting just to see what pops up. this kind of stuff should be on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Arden. Comment?
It's very common for municipalities to have a section on their agenda that is labeled comments from the public on issues not on the agenda. And so to the extent that the council is going to entertain that, you don't have to do it, but the council does do it. And so that leaves the council, I think, in a position to put some limitations on that public comment, which the council does. It's on the front page of the agenda. But other than that, that's essentially an open forum. This is a council meeting. It is sort of the pinnacle of the forum and the ability to make statements as a matter of the First Amendment, petitioning your government, or free speech. So, I think council should feel comfortable that the way they approach it is typical, common, and clearly within what the statutes and the Constitution of the state of Colorado and the federal Constitution allow. That doesn't foreclose the opportunity to add as a standing item reports from the DDA, and you could add that to your agenda. But so I will take any questions. I'd be happy to answer questions.
I welcome the fact that the public is becoming more and more involved, despite the fact I missed dessert time. But I think it's incumbent upon us to leave an open session where public can bring items to the council, because we can't be everywhere all the time. And I think the other suggestion, to put maybe a DDA report in at the bottom like we do the other ones, might be something we could consider. But in the meantime, I kind of welcome all the public comments. Some of them are uncomfortable for us as council people, and that's the way it goes. But I'm really happy to see more public involved with the processes that the city and the council are invoking upon them, I guess.
Well, in Arden, also, there's no action items. We're not taking any action on any of these things. It's just public comment. And I would agree with Councilman Carr that this is what people come for. They want to be heard, and I don't think we'll stop them. That said, the idea that DDA report might be an agenda item, I think, is a legitimate question, and we'll look into that as we move forward. Okay, Kelly Case.
Good evening, Mayor and Council staff. I was unable to attend the June 16th meeting, but did watch the recorded version, and that's always nice to have. I'm Kelly Cases, 1210 Evergreen Heights Drive. Former finance director of the City of Woodland Park for 17 years, and I have become very alarmed at the state of the city's financial condition at the end of 2015. During the 17 years of my tenure as finance director, we went through quite a overhaul and lengthy process of recovering from a very low unrestricted fund balance in the general fund several city managers ago. 13 people lost their positions with the city in order to cut back costs and recover from that. At that point, we had right around a $400,000 unrestricted fund balance. Into 2015, it's $100,000. There was the statement that there were some expenses that were restricted for capital projects of $218 and some change $1,000 that were going to be reclassified, and that the manager would be back to report on that to you to amend those financial statements. Haven't seen that or heard of that, so I decided that I would move forward with state my concerns to you in a public session. I have emailed you my concerns. And when I left Employ, the last balance sheet that was issued was December 2013. We had a almost $1.7 million fund balance, unrestricted. 2 years later, it's $100,000. Another comparison that's useful is we had over $2 million in cash at the end of 2013. The end of 15, $65,000. That's critical. And it seems to not be, one more point before I say what I was going to say. We've put over $10 million worth of debt on the books and refinanced COPs. They're at $1.4 million in principal to pay off. We've taken them up to $3.55 million in the general fund with a $100,000 unrestricted fund balance. Now, some of you, we've been through many budget sessions together. We've talked about what's healthy over those years, and we're always very proud of the condition of the city's in. On that night, on the 16th, the manager said that we are still solvent and in excellent financial condition. I don't know how you can arrive at that conclusion, but it is simply not true. I see an ad in the paper every week asking for the public to contribute to the swimming pool. And I'm sure that most of you probably know that my position on the swimming pool was absolutely not, we cannot afford that swimming pool. And now we've issued bonds. We've booked them to the general fund. We have no fund balance. That won't even make 1 2-week payroll. And we've broken ground on a pool we don't have enough money to finish. You're begging for money to finish the pool. I don't know what you're thinking, but I do not recognize this council. The council I worked with was very conservative, always very careful to see that we had a very strong fund balance. And I'm not disappointed. I fail to understand, after working with so many of you for so many years. I just think that it's very, very risky with funds that belong to the public. And I'm saying this as a very concerned citizen. I put my heart and soul into working and giving to this community. I live in this community now, and I've been quiet as long as I can be. I come to you with a very heavy heart and ask that you take this into consideration and think about it very carefully, because city services will begin to suffer. So thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do. It's been my pleasure to serve you, and if I can ever do anything to help with my institutional knowledge over the years with the DDA, with the city, I'm always here. And this is not a vengeful thing. This is sincerely out of concern for the financial condition of the city. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions, and keep up the good work. You ask good questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, Deb Miller?
Hi. Well, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit here. I'm Deb Miller with the Chamber, 1246 Ethereal Circle, Colorado Springs, Colorado. It is my hope in your mail box you have received your invitation to our official keg tapping for Oktoberfest, which is coming quite, Noel has it. All right. It's coming up September 17th, 11 a.m. over at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. You all have been a crucial part of that, and we hope to see you there again for the cake tapping. It's a great time, and we're excited about our event this year. There are a couple of other things I wanted to mention as well. I've been remiss and missed the last couple of council meetings due to family commitments, but I wanted to note to you all that Mayor Levy and I have had the opportunity on 3 different occasions to do radio interviews on behalf of the city of Woodland Park with KRDO Radio and also with iHeartRadio. And it's been a great show to do, 2-hour-long series and one, I believe 10 minutes. So it's nice to go out with the mayor and promote our community, and I wanted you all to be aware that we were doing that. I also want to report on Karis Community Day to let you all know as council that was held yesterday at Karis Bible College. I believe a couple of hundred community members showed up, had the opportunity to learn a little more about the Bible College and take a tour of the second phase as well. So that was a good event to have the community come out and become aware of what's happening at the college. Also next week on August 24th, City Manager Buttery has agreed to help the Chamber out with a business roundtable. He'll be meeting with various business owners, and we'll be talking about projects in the community, and we're excited. And lastly, Mayor Levy, I don't want to step on anything you're going to say later in your report, but I did want to mention the First Responders Banquet that's coming up that Mayor Levy is inviting everyone to. I'm certainly going to be helping out with that. It will be September 24th. It will be held out at Karis, and we're excited about being able to put together an event where we can honor the first responders in our region. My son is a paramedic, and a first responder is very near and dear to my heart. I remember the first call he went on, and about a month ago, I had pictures that he texted me of a baby he delivered. So first responders in all different ways help keep us safe, keep the welfare of our community, and there'll be more information, and I'm sure Mayor Levy will talk about that. But we'll see you at Oktoberfest. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else in public comment that hasn't signed up that would like to speak? Okay, if not, we'll move on to reports, and I will start. Farmers Market tomorrow and every Friday through September 30th from 7 to 1 at the Vectra Bank site behind Vectra Bank. Every Saturday through September 17th, free walking tours of History Park and downtown Woodland Park. Call 686-7512 for more information. Sunday, August 21st, the Woodland Music Series presents the Woodland Park Wind Symphony. That's a free concert on the green. It's at 1 o'clock. As Deb referred to, Wednesday, August 24th, the Chamber Business Roundtable presentation and Q&A with David Buttery, our city manager. That'll be at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. Deb, what time is that? Is that at 7:30? That's at 7:30. And then Thursday, September 1st, Chamber Lunch and Learn, search engine optimization and digital marketing tips, 1 p.m. That's at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. Is that the right time, 1 o'clock? I'm sorry, 11:30 at the Ute Pass Cultural Center, 687-9885. Okay, that's the only events that I've got today. And we'll move on to I overlooked Ms. Stenner, and I know that she wants to come forward. Let's do that now, if you'd like, Ms. Stenner. If you just come forward, I'm sorry.
My name is Patricia Stinner. I live at 1140 Michael Lane. There was one other thing that was kind of outstanding when you asked me if there was anything else regarding the, not the TDS renewal, but a related issue that I have had. I'm wondering if given the activity that is foreseeable and demands on our private utility easements, if perhaps it is time to revise Ordinance 1251 to include our utility easements that are behind our houses. And if council needs further explanation, it's my understanding council is aware of the problems that have recently transpired with the ordinance. This is the first time out of the chute to use the ordinance, and perhaps it might make sense to expand the ordinance to include all utility easements.
Good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, then we'll move on to council reports. And Mayor Pro Tem Harvey?
I have nothing.
I'm going to skip to Mr. Sawyer so I don't leave him till last all the time.
Well, I've got quite a few to report on. I'll be reporting on the DDA, the Main Street, some other stuff, so maybe I should go last. Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go
and then
first.
You guys can...
Go first. We're dying to hear from you.
Okay, DDA reports. This is some positive stuff for the DDA. Tanner, thank you very much for the financials. I was just looking them over. The one thing I did notice is that we can take out this IT, since I know the person doing the IT for the DDA now. That's me. Okay. So thank you. Emails. I'm just going to make brief statements. I've just done some bullet points here. There was a DDA request for the emails from the executive director because they were the property of the DDA. They are needed for several reasons, and one being records requests, which obviously we're seeing right now. Just like any business or governing body, you have to have your records. This assumption that the DDA, which has come out in the paper recently, was looking for something is only misinformation and hearsay. That's all I'm going to say for that. Country Lodge, the DDA is working with the owner to look at a possible TIF agreement. The DDA is planning their annual workshop in September. I'm not sure of the dates yet. We're still working on that, and I'll get back to you with that. DDA, there's been some talk about DDA accomplishments. I've been looking at the social media, and everybody's like, well, what has the DDA done? What has the DDA done? Well, DDA's done a lot. I can name off a few: Woodland Hardware, Dinosaur Resource Museum, Trail Ridge Apartments, Big O Tires, Gold Hill North, Tractor Supply, and Eagle Fire Lodge. So those are quite accomplishment to bring those businesses and help out the businesses that were here already. We are currently working on the DDA website. Actually, I'm designing the DDA website. Every DDA member will now have their own email address, and we are going to make sure to save those emails so they don't get deleted. Okay, Main Street. Main Street's an impressive board. I'm impressed by Main Street. They're well organized. Some of the stuff currently, Main Street has received a $2,500 grant from DOLA to purchase 2 kiosks. Those kiosks will go over at the depot and one over at Woodland Plaza. Main Street has been working on a pedestrian safety enhancement throughout the downtown. It's concept design completely. I've seen it. It was very, very impressive. But they're not ready to present it to the public yet. They're still working on the minor details. Another thing is, which we don't talk about much, is our hospital, Pikes Peak Regional Hospital. I am here to announce that Becker's Hospital Review, 50 Critical Access Hospital CEOs to Know 2016 list, was released on Monday and featured our CEO, Kim Manjeski. So, top 50. It's pretty impressive. And I have recently been elected to serve on the Board of Trustees for the hospital. I am honored to be part of this fine group of professionals that are committed to the absolute success of our community hospital. That's all I have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
I'm just so excited to be here. to see the citizens' participation, things being aired out. What a process. Thank you very much.
Kenny?
I'd just like to reiterate Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee's hard work and re-emphasize the awards given earlier to Joni's Deli, Dana's Dance Studio, and Curves of Woodland Park, and hopefully that'll encourage other businesses throughout the city to keep dressing up the exterior and keeping things looking nice, both in decoration and picking up litter. And hopefully that'll be an incentive, and maybe you can get an award for your business. So hopefully the word gets out. That's all I have.
Thank you, Val.
I've been asked by Quilters Above the Clouds to give an acknowledgement, and this is the only thing my wife could come up with to put it up here, so whatever. Whatever, anyway. They had their annual event this last weekend, and there was a very good turnout. I want to congratulate Tanner Coy and Tweeds for supplying some wonderful high-end furniture to assist in displaying, which is my real mission here today for the quilters, but my wife also won 4 awards. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Coy, for your volunteer assistance to that group. They really highly appreciated it. I can't seem to give away old TVs, and so I saw this in the paper and printed it out. This is Keller Williams is putting on an event on this Saturday, 2 days from now. It's a electronic recycling event, and for a small fee, they'll take my old TVs off my hand, which I'm trying to give away free, but apparently I have to pay people to get rid of. But they're having a nice event there, and it's at their open house. They're also having some food and beverages, they claim, so maybe I'll make it up in food and beverages. I'm not sure. I also was invited by the mayor, thankfully, he was wonderfully generous in inviting me to CDOT meeting, a regional CDOT meeting. It's kind of an old, my first job out of college was working with Colorado Highway Department, which is CDOT, at 4201 Arkansas, main headquarters. Anyway, so we reprised that 45-year-old experience. Not really, but I went to the meeting and learned something about our bypass. I get a lot of questions about the bypass, and what I learned was it's not encouraging. But we're going to try to get in there, and our grandchildren will be able to maybe use a bypass. We're not sure, but there's some encouraging things that the Teller County commissioners are really digging into to try to maybe short circuit that. And when we talk about short circuit, it's government short circuit. It's not, it's still maybe our children, maybe not our grandchildren kind of thing. But I appreciate going to that meeting, and Neil's laughing because there's 20 people there with 40 opinions, and it's really an interesting committee. It's also early in the morning, so that was a challenge for me, but I appreciate being invited to that. Thank you.
Sure. I think when you go to the next one, it'll feel like a duplicate meeting. That's been my experience. Okay, thanks very much. City Attorney's report. Ms. Smith? Nothing.
I have nothing on it.
Okay, Mr. Buttery?
Thanks, Mayor. Suzanne has a quick update, and then I do as well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know from the staff report that was in your packet, I just wanted to give you an update that on July 21st, you approved the resolution to have a ballot question on Teller County's general election November 8th, and they sent me the expenses for the election, and I just wanted you to know they, of course, were unbudgeted expenses, and they're estimating it to be about $7,900 for us to participate in the election with them, but I feel that strongly with the city manager that we can absorb that, and I can give you some details to how, if you want.
Great, thanks.
Would you like?
Oh, certainly, if you
Okay, yes.
have found the money, that's great.
Actually, I have them right here in front of me. In 2016, we budgeted $17,000 for the municipal election. The election cost $17,644. But if you remember, we partnered with the school district, and they had a Tabor issue on our ballot. They reimbursed the city. We charged them, prorated their costs. They reimbursed the city $7,092. Anyhow, the election ended up costing us for 2016 $10,552, which leaves a balance in my election line item of $6,448.
That's great. Thank you very much,
You're
Suzanne.
welcome.
Okay, David.
Just a couple of quick updates on the capital projects. Memorial Park, if you've driven past it in the last 48 hours, it's had a drastic improvement in its appearance. There's now sod down on the north side of the park. Some of the decks are going in, more of the sidewalks, more of the curb and gutter. So every day now that you drive by, things will look significantly better and more closer to completion. On the Aquatic Center, they're making good progress. One of the good news stories from that is they had to rip up Baldwin and also the bus turnaround, and the general contractor and many of his subs were successful in getting that packed down and sealed off with asphalt and a sidewalk replaced, so that when the kids start school next Tuesday, the buses will have full use of the bus turnaround and also have safe access along Baldwin. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. That completes our reports, Mayor.
Any questions, Council?
I go through there all the time. I noticed they put up some barriers there to facilitate the sidewalk detour at this point.
Correct.
I'm hoping the crossing guards have an extra eye out on those because they are very close to
We work very close. The general contractor and the city inspector work very closely with the school district. The superintendent and I walked the site together, and the primary construction entrance is going to shift from Panther Way to the actual entrance to the Aquatic Center. So that entrance will be less busy, but the crossing guards will be in that area completely. But that's one of the reasons why we put up the barricades, was to make sure that the kiddos had safe ways to get into the school property.
So you're saying by Tuesday, the exit, the far exit, the north side exit, those concrete barriers will be removed?
No, I didn't say that at all. It's just that, no, they're going to stay in place.
They're there for the sidewalk, but that is a very tight squeeze there on that turn.
Yeah, we looked at there's 3 lanes there. There's a northbound, there's a southbound through, and a southbound left turn lane into Panther Way.
Correct.
And as we looked at what the options were, one option was to just remove the left turn lane and have a northbound and a southbound. Consultation with the school and our folks said that would not be good. So we squeezed it in, provided a narrow, safe area for the kids to walk, protected by the Jersey barriers. I've watched 3 vehicles move through there. It's tight, but it's slow and it's safe.
Yeah, I've been driving it every morning. You might want to reevaluate it. It's
we
really
will.
tight.
And in about 2 or 3 weeks, the head wall that's going to be built on the north side of that access will be complete, and we'll be able to open everything up completely. So this is a temporary situation that the district has blessed.
Yeah, it was interesting watching my son, that's only been driving for a week, try to go through that tight little, and I was sweating because I don't want the whole side of my car to just be. So hopefully sooner the better. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one piece of written correspondence from the UPass Symphony Guild. For those of you that made the Symphony Above the Clouds, it was a wonderful event, as always, and from Carolyn Smith, the president, just thank you for your continued support. The Symphony Above the Clouds, the Community Investment Fund, is truly an anchor in our fundraising campaign, and like I said, signed Carolyn Smith. It was once again a great event, and I think I saw a lot of you folks there, so thank you very much. That's all that I have tonight. Council, anything else? If not, this meeting's adjourned.